Perfect. All right, so I introduced myself to a few of you before we're waiting on a few more to join us. So my name is Kyle Holleran. I've been with KW for 11 years. I was a team leader and also a market center tech trainer for 7 market centers. So I really know this stuff at a pretty high level. I'm also a Docusign trained instructor. So my goal here today is that we go through compliance, right, and Docusign, and then commissions, and making sure that we know that once we get a deal under contract, how do we get paid, right? I'm also a broker in Virginia and Maryland. So the good thing about this is I kind of see it from all sides. So if anyone has questions today, there's no dumb questions, okay? And I want everyone to kind of walk away from this feeling as though it was worthwhile. And also, let's implement some of the stuff we talk about today, right? I'm going to show you how to create templates and things like that in DocuSign that should make every transaction easier. But if you're going to spend time on the call today, let's make sure we do something, right? Don't just sit here and watch, because if you do that and don't implement, by next week, you're going to forget some of these different pieces that we're going to go over, okay? So I think we're all on the same page about the topic today, correct, right? We're going to do compliance, DocuSign, commissions. What are you looking to learn today? So what made you log in this morning? Is there anything specific you guys are here to learn? And I'll make sure that I cover that throughout the class today.
I just know that there's some little like tricks that you can do with DocuSign. Like I don't know. I know there's more to DocuSign than I actually am using. So I'm interested to see what what light you can just shed on the program and overall.
Sounds good. Yeah, I call them our DocuSign tips and tricks, right? So we'll go over about 20 minutes. I'll show you all these different tools that are in there that most people don't even realize are there. Like, did you realize that you could just forward an email, right? And you could forward it right to a room. Okay, so you don't even need to download it out of your email and then take it over to DocuSign, upload it there. You can just forward it via an email address and it'll go right into the room so you can work on it. So we'll go over some of those DocuSign tips and tricks. Good. What else?
Hi, I actually had a specific situation for DocuSign. I just had a transaction done, and so the document is in DocuSign, all the signed contract. I had a hard time pulling that signed one to command. When I watch the videos on how to create opportunities, it tells me to like create them and send them, aka to be signed. But I didn't know what to do when they're already signed.
Gotcha. So we're going to go. So we're going to go through that full workflow today. Okay.
Awesome.
And then if there's something specific that isn't working the way that we're doing it live, and we're going to do everything live today, then just put a chat in and just say, hey, this is still not working for me, and we can jump on and do a quick 5-minute Zoom, and I'll figure out how we can kind of get your compliance turned in. Okay. So good. We'll go over that workflow. What else? Anybody else have anything in particular they're here to learn today? Okay. You guys are going to get really bored of hearing me talk. And so if it's interactive, this will be more fun. So don't be afraid to jump off Zoom, right? Or off of mute, ask questions, raise your hand, put it in the chat if you'd like to. But the more questions we have, the less boring this will be for everybody on the call today. Okay. All right. Rock and roll. All right. So here's what we're going to do. Everyone has logged into command, correct? Everyone is logged into command. Okay. Now, one of the steps is, and you guys might have gone over this at a level inside of the orientation class if you were here on Monday, who is connected to DocuSign? Who has connected to DocuSign? They have an email address and a password for DocuSign. Does everybody have that?
I do.
Okay. We're going to start there this morning. And some of this stuff, I'm going to give you some links that'll walk you through things like step by step. If you haven't set up the full DocuSign account today, I want you to watch today more than do with me. And that way you can keep up with where we are. But I want to start here because once we get going in opportunities, I don't want to come back out again. So here's what you do. All right. I'm going to put in the chat right now a help article. So let me go ahead and share my screen. And we're going to go over here. Okay. This is a help article from Command. There's a website, right? Answers.kw.com that has, guys, I'm serious, like every answer to every question you might have revolving around Command. Don't forget about this, okay? If you're looking to do something on a Sunday, don't wait till Monday morning to talk to your MCTT. go here and Google what you're trying to do. And there's these amazing help articles with screenshots and step-by-step instructions. So this one is all about setting up your DocuSign account. Okay. So I'm going to stick it in the chat right now. And anybody that needs to do this, I want you to copy this link and open it up in a browser so that you can refer back to it as soon as we're done the class today. Here's the deal. KW and DocuSign have a relationship, and you need to set up an account underneath of that umbrella. If you have an existing DocuSign account, that doesn't matter, right? You're not merging them together like this is a separate account. So back in commands, when we first log in and we're on the home screen here, here's the clicks to start this process. So you're going to click on your name in the upper right-hand corner. And I like to narrate clicks so that if you like to write these things down, you can follow and pick up where we left off. So your name, click on settings. Okay. And when you come into settings, this is like the app store of command basically. And you'll see that one of the apps on here is going to be DocuSign. Now mine is at the top because it is connected. If yours is not connected yet, you might see it a little bit lower down the list, or you may see it up at the top and it's not connected. This is ultimately what we're trying to get to, where it says connected, right? If you've done that, you're good to go. That means now that we can get into the DocuSign account with all of your forms. Okay. This email address is the one that you use to create your username and password. So this email address is your username. Right, let's stop here. Yep, go ahead, Kelly.
That's what I've been trying to, I've been stuck on the screen and mine just says authorize.
Okay. So what happens here, guys, is I'm going to slip back to these instructions real quick. Well, this is what it looks like when it's brand new. It says connect account. Okay. And when you do that, you fill this little form out with an email address and say send registration email. So Kelly, did you get this email that looks like this to your email address?
It says the email that was on there was my command email, and I don't even know how to log into that because
Okay,
I'm logged into command.
Gotcha. Okay, so if it's your KW email, what does our KW email run through, guys? Who knows? What product?
Through Gmail.
Through Gmail. Okay. So Kelly, what you do is you'll actually go to Gmail and you'll log in with this full email address. Okay. And if that's the email address that's in this box here, then you have an email waiting in that inbox that you need to accept. And once you do that, you'll kind of get out of this spinning world of death. Okay. So follow the instructions I put into the screen here. And if you're still having trouble, then reach out to one of us and we'll help you get connected. Okay. But here's what you do. You should get an email. You accept the terms of service. You create a password, which you need to remember, everybody. Okay. And you create a security question. Once you accept that, what happens is you go back into command and it says authorize. You click that authorize button and you sign in with that email and password you just created. And that will give you the connected look that we're looking for right here. Okay. So again, if you haven't done that yet, we're not going to wait 10 or 15 minutes today and wait on that to happen. Just watch the screens today and go back and you can watch the recording and then go ahead and get that DocuSign account connected. Everybody good on that? Any questions on DocuSign connection? Okay. All right. So now what we're going to do is we're going to go into opportunities today. Right. And I think you guys actually did a segment on opportunities a little bit, right? Where you went over creating opportunities, et cetera. Is that correct? Can someone verify that for me? Thumbs up.
Yeah.
Guys, yes. This is a very, very good applet, right? When I was a new agent, I would have died to have something like this in terms of organization for my business. So don't overlook the power of this applet. Behind contacts, this is my favorite part of command. Okay. The reason for it is we run into a lot of people who say, yeah, I'm thinking about selling next year. And you go, okay, great, right? Like come here, create an opportunity and cultivate. And this becomes like your hit list, right? This becomes your hot list of potential deals is by working through opportunities. All right, so once we come into opportunities, this is loading up right now. I kind of live out a little bit and so my internet might be a little slow here, but we'll deal with it. We're gonna load up on our opportunities. Here they are. We've got our listing pipeline, our buyer pipeline, and our leasing pipeline, correct? So we're going to create a new opportunity today. And you guys can follow along with me if you want to as a test one. And we're going to show you how we get to the compliance checklist So which documents do I need to have for my office? And it's going to be different for each office, right? So what you see on my screen might be a little bit different than what you see, because you're going to see Northern Virginia documents. Okay. Where are you guys all located? Do we have anybody that's in Richmond or Hampton Roads or Roanoke? Anybody outside of Nova on the call today?
Hampton Roads in the house.
Hampton Roads. All right. Very good.
West Virginia, Martinsburg.
All right. Very good, Kelly. So I'll show you West Virginia forms as well. Okay. We'll go over that. So good. All right. So first thing we're going to do, guys, we're going to create an opportunity. Okay. Now, let's pause here for a second. I want you to get some good information other than just compliance and stuff today. When do you guys create an opportunity? So what's the difference between going from a lead and having somebody in my contacts to then doing this step right here, which is create the opportunity? What's that threshold for you guys? Let's just kind of mastermind around this for a second. When do you create an opportunity?
I would say probably once you set an appointment or something.
Okay. So John said set an appointment, right?
I
Here's-
usually do it when they've expressed some sort of interest in buying, selling, or renting. So
Yep.
There's been more of a concrete conversation around it.
Awesome. Okay. I like that definition of it. Okay. What I heard Emily say there is, let's say we get a lead, we meet somebody at an open house or something, or they come in off of Facebook and we try to call them and they never answer the phone and I don't talk to them. I don't want to create an opportunity for that person, right? I haven't had a conversation with them. But if I do, and they say, hey, we're thinking about buying in the spring of next year, I want that to be the threshold in which you create the opportunity. Okay. So when someone expresses that they are going to buy or sell sometime in the future, that's when it happens. Not 5 or 10 years from now. That might be too far. But the way I define it is the next like 18 to 24 months. Okay. And if they do, I'm creating an opportunity around it. So first thing that happens is most of you probably just have one market center here. I'm a part of all these market centers, so you see them all. But let's use Fairfax today. It's going to be your default market center. So that's going to be selected. What kind of opportunity is it? Listing, buyer, landlord, or tenant? This is the most important selection you're going to make. Here's the reason why. Based on the selection you make, the compliance checklist follows, meaning you select listing. We're looking for listing paperwork, property disclosures. You choose buyer. We're looking for the buyer agency agreement, etc. So don't go too fast through this part, because if you create it under the wrong type, you have to delete it and start again. Everybody clear on that?
Yep.
All right, so let's do a listing today. Let's just say it's going to be a listing, and great. And now the client. I'm going to go ahead and type in the client's name here. So I'm going to type in, let's see, who can I use? Let's use K. So I'll type in K Bellhouse. Okay, one of my good friends, longtime KW leader. Now remember, they have to be in the system first, right? So making the contact is the first thing that you need to do. And I know you guys talked about that when you did opportunities the other day. So let's select K. Opportunity name is listing, K Bellhouse. I don't need to change anything there. This is your commission rate. So not total commission, but if I were to sell this house, how much commission would I make? Let's say 2.5%. And K's house is approximately worth $750,000. Okay. Those are the only required fields, this one being commission rate, and then I can go ahead and click on create opportunity. Okay. And it opens up a screen that looks like this. Everybody good on creating an opportunity?
Yes.
All right. Any questions up to this point?
Nothing.
Okay. So now we're inside of the opportunity details page, right? So this is kind of the details of the transaction. And we've got these different tabs here: details, seller profile, marketing, documents, offers and commissions, notes, timeline. All right, today we're going to focus on these two tabs right here: documents, offers and commissions. Okay. So for the sake of the compliance and DocuSign aspect of Command, that's where we're going to focus today. I'm going to suggest to you guys, whenever you create an opportunity, always go in and put in the property address. Here's the reason why. Some of you experienced this already. When you turn in a commission request, you must associate it with an address, okay? And so some people, and we're going to get to this a little bit later, try to submit the commission and they get an error and it says enter a listing. And they're like, what am I supposed to do? So I want you to get in the habit that when you create the opportunity, especially for a listing, you come in here and you add the property, okay? So it's in the United States. This property address is going to be 404 Dale Road, Millersville, Maryland, right? Here comes all the information. Save. Doing that step that you just saw took me like what, 4 seconds, will eliminate the error when you go to submit your commission request. Do that. Okay. All right, now let's go ahead and move forward and get into the documents and commissions and compliance. So let's go ahead and click on documents now. Right. So when I click on documents here, this is going to take a second to load. This happened to me yesterday a little bit, but it's going to load up here. We're going to see a screen, and on this document section is where we're going to get to DocuSign. Okay. This is where we're going to create a DocuSign room so that we can get signatures from everybody. Okay. So here's the screen. It just popped up. And let's go over this screen before we move too quickly. If you're in a market center that has multiple checklists, meaning maybe they're licensed in multiple states, the first thing it's going to ask you is to start with an opportunity, please select a checklist type first. Over on the left-hand side, you should see a bolded section that says, please check checklist type, pick. You can go ahead and click that drop down. And in the Fairfax office, right? Remember, because I selected the opportunity in Fairfax, they're now asking me, okay, we know this is a listing. Is this in Virginia, Washington, DC, or Maryland? Why is it asking me a state to choose? What's important about that when it comes to what we're talking about today?
Different documents for each state.
Yeah, exactly, right? Every state has different documents. So same thing in your market center, they might have different, like they could have land in here. They're like the office chooses what checklist to make. But in this case, we've broken it up by state because everyone has different documents. So we're going to select Virginia today. Once I select Virginia, this group of documents, this list of documents comes in right here. Okay. Now I want to be very clear here. These are not the documents that you're filling out and sending for signature. Okay. This is a list of documents that your office is requiring, some of them, that you upload for compliance, okay? So I want you to think about it this way. This is telling you which documents you need to go get, but these are not the documents themselves. Is that clear to everybody? This is where a lot of agents get confused. They come in here and they say, oh, listing agreement, and they're trying to click on the listing agreement. We're just telling you that we need the listing agreement. So this is your compliance checklist is what I want you to think of it as. Does that make sense? Okay. Now, in my market centers, all right, in this office, I'm actually the managing broker. Listing agreement is required. Okay. The tax record is required. A property disclosure is conditionally required, meaning if this is an estate, if this is new construction, the state does not require a property disclosure, right? So I don't make that required per each deal. You need to know whether it's required based on the transaction that you're doing, okay? So again, this screen right here that we're looking at, it's gonna look different for all of us because every market center sets it up in accordance with the way that they wanna see it done. All right, everybody clear on compliance checklist? Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Good. Now, for every transaction that we do, there are basically two major steps of compliance in that transaction. There is agency and there is the contract, right? So if I go to list a home, we go on an appointment and I get my listing agency documents filled out, right? That's one set of things that happens. We get our photos taken, we get on the market 2 weeks later, we accept a contract, then we accept a contract. That's another compliance event, basically. Buyer side, same thing, buyer agency documents, then purchase contract, right? So I want to draw your attention over here to the left-hand side. Okay, so we have a couple folders that you need to submit. So the first one is going to be your agency folder. So again, listing agreement, tax record, residential property disclosure. These are all things that my seller would sign. I would upload them, and I'm going to show you in a little while how we do that, submit to the market center. 3 weeks later, we go under contract on that listing. You have a second folder here that's called under contract. These are all the documents that we need when that event happens: the purchase agreement, the fully signed residential property disclosure, any sort of financing addendum, home inspection. Okay. So does that make sense? We have two major compliance events. And when you get your documents signed in our office, you're supposed to turn these in within 3 days of them happening. Meaning I go meet with the seller, we get everything signed. You're supposed to submit the listed folder to get approval. We don't want to wait to do that until after we have a purchase contract, because if there's something wrong with the documentation, we want to get that fixed. Okay. And then when you do get a purchase contract, you repeat the process by going to the under contract folder. So for each deal, you're submitting to the office 2 times. That's what I'm telling you. Questions on that? And we're going to do it, right? I'm just making sure we're setting this up. Everybody good? Okay, I don't ever want you to put anything in the closed folder. This is only for the office. This is where the office is going to upload your commission disbursement so that you can see how the commission breaks down. Okay, so your role is only to worry about documents in the first 2 folders. Don't put anything in the closed folder, right? Now, would everyone agree that there's a lot of times, a lot of documents that have to do with a transaction that aren't required to be turned into the office? Yes, okay, there is. We're going to talk about a few of them. So where do we put those things so that we can kind of keep everything together in one spot? Give me an example. What's something that is a document or something that we receive as part of the real estate transaction that we might want to save, but is not necessarily required by your office to be turned in? Give me an example of that.
Pre-approval letter.
Great. All right, a pre-approval letter. Perfect. What's another example? What about the home inspection report? What about an appraisal report? Okay. Closing disclosures. There's all sorts of things that you may not want to, and honestly, like, I'm a compliance broker, I don't want to see them, right? So you don't want to put them in these compliance folders because it makes everything, you know, just all backed up. Right here, you have something called custom folder, guys. And I don't see enough people utilizing this tool. You can click on add a new custom folder here and call it miscellaneous documents. Guys, this is an unlimited storage space that you can add stuff to. So when I create that folder, miscellaneous documents, I can now come in here and add in inspection reports, appraisal reports, pre-approval letters, like anything that I want to save. And I'll always be able to come back to this opportunity 3 years from now and access these documents all in one spot. Okay. That way they're not saved on your computer. They're not taking up space in iCloud that you have to pay for. You have a free PDF depository basically right inside of the opportunity. And I would say that only 10% of agents use this feature. Everybody good? Okay. All right, so miscellaneous folders. Hopefully that's helpful. Let's go back up to listed. Now, let's go through this process like it's real life. So I meet with a seller and they say, yep, I'd love to work with you. The next step is we need to go get our documents, right? We need to go get our listing agreement and all those things so we can send them out for signature. That's where we're at within the real estate process. Now I want to point this out. In some market centers, we have certain documents mapped to DocuSign. And what that means is if you see a little DS symbol next to the document in the compliance checklist, when you start this DocuSign room, those forms are already going to be in the room waiting for you to use, right? It just kind of saves you a step potentially, but that's what that little DS symbol means. I usually get that question. Okay. Now, DocuSign needs to be connected for this to work. So those that don't have DocuSign connected, you're just going to have to watch for the next 30 minutes to a half hour, 45 minutes, I guess. Right up top here, we see a button. It says start a transaction. That's what you see the first time when you create a new opportunity, right? This is what creates the DocuSign room that's attached to this opportunity so that they're talking to one another. So this is the way that you want to create your DocuSign rooms. After you hit start a transaction, every time after that, that button is going to say go to transaction. So if you're looking at an opportunity and it says go to transaction, that means you simply have already created the room, right? I'm going to do it here for the first time. So start a transaction. When I click on that, I'm going to say DocuSign. It's going to open a new tab and it's going to ask me to go ahead and log into DocuSign. So this is where I'm logging in with my email address that I used and the password that I created when I got that email. Everybody good? That's how you get to DocuSign. I'm going to show you, if you're on vacation and you need to go in and just grab a document really quickly, once you create the room first time, you don't need to go into command, opportunity, documents, go to transaction. Like, you don't need those extra clicks. You can log in directly to DocuSign, but the first time you create the room, you need to do it that way so that the room and the opportunity are talking to one another. It makes your life easier for compliance because we can just move the documents over. We can sync them. We don't have to download anything. So that's why that's important. Okay, notice in my DocuSign room, the exclusive right to sell is here because I told you that DS symbol was there. So they already mapped it into the room. Let's go ahead and take a pause here for just a second. Everybody with me? Any questions about getting into DocuSign?
No questions.
You guys are crushing it today. I usually have a few people that have dropped off by now. All right, so we're in DocuSign, okay? All right, here's what happens. We have a few tabs up here I want to point out. Details, documents, people, envelopes, messages, history. I really want you to focus on the first two, all right? Details, if you come back into this details section, this is kind of like your auto population section. So it brought over Kay's name and phone number from command. That's why it's already there. If there was a second seller, I could add that information in there. It already brought over the property address, right? Because I typed it into command there. So the benefit is when I go in and I look at one of my documents, the address and Kay's name is already going to be auto-filled on that contract, and I've got to fill in the other pieces. Okay. All right. So on the screen, when you're under documents, this is how you get to your library of documents. Now, everywhere is different. Like Richmond doesn't have their library in here because their MLS will not allow them to be here. So I think Hampton Roads documents are in here. I'm not sure, but if not, just kind of follow along because you can use DocuSign for more than your forms library, okay? We're gonna click on add. And when we click on add, you're gonna see a little section here that says DocuSign forms, okay? When you click on DocuSign forms, a screen similar to this is gonna pop up. Again, this screen is gonna be different for all of us. And it's gonna show you two different things, groups and libraries, okay? Groups are something that your office can put together and group documents together that are from the library. So an example of that would be if I clicked on Chantilly listing, that office, the Chantilly office, has already said that, okay, traditionally when you do a listing, you need your property disclosure, your exclusive right to sell, your lead-based paint, and your useful information about the real estate transaction, right? That's what a group is, as your office putting some of those documents together to save you a few steps. Everybody get that? In addition to that, under your libraries, like up here in Northern Virginia, we use NVAR. So this is where you should also find your library of forms that you use to write your contracts. So if I needed to come in here and find a short sale addendum, right? I could come in here, and if I go into the library, now I can look for and pull in any of the forms from that entire library. Okay. In addition to that, you should see where it says KW and your market center number. And this would be where if you have any forms that are in the your office, like specific forms, these might be things like a mortgage relationship or a title relationship that are required to be signed. You might find those in your market center library, okay? So groups, market center library, forms library. So let me go ahead and add a couple of these forms in. So I can click off on a few of these forms and say, you know what, this house was built in 1995. I don't need lead-based paint, so I wouldn't select it. I've already got exclusive right to sell in there, so I don't need that, but I might need useful information, okay? So I can select multiple documents, add them in, right? And that's how I bring in forms that I now can start typing into and eventually send to my seller. Let's take a pause there. Questions about getting to your libraries and getting those documents brought into the room so you can work on them.
I have a question. Sorry.
Let's go Melissa first, and then we'll come back to, was it Doa? So Melissa, go ahead.
Yes, sir. So this isn't exactly a question for the part that you're in right now. I apologize. But what is the difference between DocuSign and Instanet?
Okay, so Instanet might be the provider for Rain, okay, Melissa, down in Hampton Roads. So if Rain has decided we don't want to give our forms to DocuSign, we only want to give them to Instanet, then you need to use Instanet to write out your contracts.
Okay, so does this training not apply to me then, or?
Okay, so what I would say to you is when we go back over into Command in a minute and we upload our documents, it's going to apply then. So this middle section for 30 minutes in DocuSign may not, but if you can stick around, I want you to watch this because there are definitely some tools of DocuSign that you could use for your business.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure because I felt so lost and I'm like, okay.
Yep. No, I think that's the way it is. I think Rain does not give their forms to DocuSign, but I'm going to show you how you can use this to like split documents potentially, like tools that Authentisign or Instanet don't have. So just they are competing products, but you can use both is what I'm saying.
Okay, awesome. Thank you.
Good question. Other questions? Oh, did you have a question? Yep.
Yeah, so back to what I was asking. So every time we have a transaction, that's how we formulate all the contracts. It's through DocuSign when we pull them from there.
Yep.
And that's how the transaction starts.
Yep.
What if you're on the receiving side? Are you going to touch on that?
Yeah, good question. So what you're, and I will touch on that. What you're saying is, what if someone sends you an offer, right? Is that what you're asking me?
Yeah.
How do we upload the offer and be able to get signatures on that offer, correct?
Yeah. So
yep.
Similar to that, exactly. So I did a transaction, I signed it, my client signed it, and I have it like just like what you have K up there on the left top corner. That's what I have, but I don't have the documents displayed, but I'm able to see it. So it's a little bit kind of confusing for me as the first time.
Okay. All right. We can work on like one-on-one or get with your MCTT to get some help on making sure that you get it clear. Okay.
That'd be great. Thank you.
All right. So here's the next step. So we brought the forms in. Okay. Brought the forms in. What's the next thing that we need to do? Just like normal process here. We need to fill them out. So all you do to do that is you click on the form, open it, and this is where you fill it out. So I just want to imagine like you're sitting at your desk and you're filling this out before you go meet with the client to get their signature. You're not sitting in front of them and filling the whole thing out in front of them typically. So you're doing the same thing right now. You're going to open up the form. This is where we're not going to get into the documents themselves, right? I'm not your broker. If you need contract training on how to fill out the forms, I really want you to talk to your market center in your office to get that guidance. This is more just showing you how to use the tool, okay? So I'm gonna come in here and as an agent myself, I'm gonna come in and I'm gonna type in some of this different information. So the seller's address is 404 Dale Road. Notice that the address came in from details and already filled in the property address, as did Kay's name, right? So some of those things are starting to be added in. You know, I'll come in here and add in a date. This listing agreement runs through July 30th. I'll check off yes, no, there's cooktops, there's dishwashers, there's blah, blah, blah. You get it. So like specifically to the house you're listing, you're going to fill out this document, right? List price is going to be $785,000. Everyone gets the point, right? You're filling out your documents. We're not signing anything. We're just filling them out. I'm going to click save and close. And I'm going to repeat that for the other documents that are in the room that need to be filled out. Everybody good? Okay. Now I'm going to take a quick aside here to save you some time, which is when we're in this section here up top, you see it says dashboard, rooms, inbox, and my docs. Okay. If you're following along with me, you don't really need to navigate with me. You can stay here if you want. I'm going to show you though You guys all have the ability. And to me, this is your homework. Like, this is what I would go do if you're using DocuSign to fill out your forms. You can go to My Docs. Inside of My Docs, there is a tab that says Form Templates, okay? And you can come in here and you can pull in your listing agreement and type in all of your information, your license number, your brokerage information, your phone numbers, your email addresses, like all the information that would be on every listing agreement possible, and you can create a template, okay? You can even check off, like if 95% of the time, if someone is not a licensee, you could check off the box to say they're not licensed. And in the case that you list somebody's home that does have a real estate license, you could change that. But again, you go in one time and create a template, okay? You can save that template. And going back to the room really quickly, I'm gonna open the room back up we were just in. So K Bell House here. Okay, so when you're on the documents section here, if I had a template, I could actually right click on the document. This is actually the wrong room. Let's see, newest. It's this one. I could actually click on a document like the exclusive right to sell, and I could apply that form template. So now all I have to do is open that form up, and instead of typing all of it, I'm typing in just the date, the list price, like the things that are very specific to that house. That should cut down the amount of time it takes you to write out a listing agreement, right? So do it, make your templates. That'll make everything easier moving forward. You can do it for your buyer agency agreement. You can even do it for a purchase contract. And then you can add in the specifics, okay? So any questions there on creating templates? Make sense? All right. So now, guys, we've filled out the documents. What's the next thing that we need to do, right? We filled everything out. Now, what do we need to do? We need to send them out for signature, correct? DocuSign takes a very literal approach to this. So I want you to think about it. You have a bunch of documents on your desk. You need to send them to your client to sign. What are we going to do? We're going to put them into an envelope. All the documents we need them to sign. We're going to address the envelope. We're going to drop the envelope in the mail. That's the way DocuSign works, except it's all digital. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to select which documents need to go out for signature. And I can do that by selecting these boxes right here. Okay. So I can select these different boxes. And up top here, once I select boxes, I get this toolbar. Inside this toolbar, one of them says create envelope and has a little pen icon. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to say we want to put these 3 documents into an envelope. And we say create envelope. All right, that's the terminology. Brings us to a screen here where we're going to address the envelope. I want you to think of it that way. So you can name it. So I might name this listing agreement, right? 404 Dale Road, just so I can keep organized what was in this envelope, right? It was the documents for me to list Kay's house. And there's the 3 documents that I selected. If you missed any documents, you can simply come right here and click on Room Docs and say, hey, I forgot one, and it'll open up a little dialog box and you can check one that you might have missed. In addition to that, I want to pay attention here. It says exclusive right to sell, D-POR property disclosure, useful information. So what's important about this is how you order your documents in the way they show up to your client. So if you want the listing agreement to be first, followed by useful information, followed by the property disclosure, you can see I get a little 4-arrow icon there. I can actually drag and drop and move these around into the order I want them to appear to my client. Okay, let's stop there. Any questions about creating an envelope, getting your forms into the envelope, and reordering your forms into the proper order? Everybody's still good? All right. Jump in if you're not. Here's the biggest part of this. So everyone pay attention right now. If you've zoned out, pay attention. Add recipients to the envelope. When you select this, it gives you 3 options here that are pre-tagged roles, room participants, and email address. Okay. Notice that these documents here have this little blue icon that say form on them. Those mean that they're templated, okay? When they're templated, that means we know where everyone needs to sign. So you don't need to drop all the signatures, right? So if you select and use pre-tagged roles when you're using forms, this will save you a lot of steps. And then what we're doing here is, okay, who needs to sign? So these are all the roles that are possibly on these forms. So we need seller 1 to sign, and seller 1 is Kay Bellhouse, okay? And you'll see here in the list here, so I'm selecting that Kay needs to sign, and I'm selecting who that person is. You could do it again if you had a seller 2, right? If you have the ability to sign your own forms, or you need to put your broker in there, you could select listing broker, okay? And I'm going to select my name out of that list there. And so now I'm saying I need seller 1 to sign in the seller 1 spot, who is Kay, and I need the broker to sign, who in my case is me, right? And I can click add selected. And then it shows us, it looks like this, right? Kay Bellhouse is going to sign for seller 1, and then Kyle is going to sign for the listing broker. Now, someone had asked the question, if we upload a PDF in here, so someone sends us an offer and we need to initial or sign off on that offer, you will not see the option of pre-tagged roles. Pre-tagged roles only works when you're using the blue forms. Okay. All right, so these are the 2 people that need to sign. Does anyone know what these numbers mean over here on the left-hand side? So right now it says 1, 1. I could change this to say 1, 2. What do those numbers mean? Who wants to take a guess?
The order that the signatures will be taken.
Good morning, Aisha. Yep, that is exactly correct. Okay, so you're going to see here where it defaults to say 1, 1, right? If I did it that way, when I sent them out for signatures, both parties would get it at the same time. All right. If you do it that way, neither will see the other's signature. So it just depends on whether or not that matters. If I reorder this and say 1, 2, that means it's going to be sent to Kay first. Kay will sign the documents. Once she completes the signing, it will then be sent to the broker, who will then be able to see Kay's initials. Okay. So that order is what that means. That's what the 1, 2. All right. So you might want to have 1, 1 for both sellers. So they both sign the documents. Then when it goes to the broker is 2. Or you might want to do 1, 2, 3. It just depends. Okay. Everybody clear on that? Now, next to the name and the email address, you also see this little drop down here. And I just want to point this out. The default for DocuSign, the way that most people think about it is that they need to sign something. Okay. What if you have an admin or a team member that might need to get a copy of all the signed documents? Notice here, right? I use pre-tagged roles, but I could add in a recipient via email address. Okay. You see it right here. And I could say, hey, after those 2 people sign, so once 1 and 2 sign, I want to send this over to Aisha, who I'm working with on this deal. Okay. B-I-L-G-A-E. Right. And I can come down here and I can type in someone's email address that it needs to go to. And notice that I don't need Aisha to sign, but I do need her to receive a copy. Okay. So there's these different options over here, and just be aware of them, because if you need to get this copy of a signed document to somebody, instead of you having to download it when it's finished, then send it over to somebody, why don't you just add them into the envelope and they'll get a copy of the completed document and cut out a few steps. So that's one thing I wanted to point out about DocuSign, kind of tips and tricks, is this is an option. Okay. If you add somebody by accident, you can simply X out of that person. So let's just go back and say it's going to be seller 1 and listing broker. Down here, you can just write a little message. Hi, Kay. Here's the listing paperwork we discussed, blah, 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 yada, yada. Okay. So that's how we set up the envelope. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to click next here, which is not to send the signature or send the documents yet, but for us to preview to make sure everything is correct. All right. Any questions on envelopes, setting up the envelope here?
Yeah, when you did the pre-tagged roles, which
Yep.
certainly saves time, sometimes some of the pre-tagged roles are optional and they're whited out. Did you
Yep.
cover that with these guys?
I will in a second.
Okay, cool.
Yep. So we'll see what Emily just asked there in just a second. So once we go and we click next, this is the next screen we come to, which is showing us, right, the documents with all the information that we filled out. And I'm going to zoom out here a little bit up top so we can see the full documents. So let's go to like 150. Let's go even higher. Let's say 200. There you go. All right. So here's my documents, right? All the information I have filled out. And then notice down here, we have signature boxes already set up. And again, that's because we've selected pre-tagged roles. So this yellow one here, up at the very top left corner, there's a little drop down, and this is like a key, like a color key. So K is yellow. That's where she needs to sign. And the broker in this case is me, right? Is blue. That's where I need to sign. Okay, so that's what happens when you use pre-tagged roles, is it drops all these different boxes in there. Okay, so here's what you're doing. You're scrolling through the documents to make sure that everything looks correct before you send them for signature, right? So everything's checked off. Signature boxes are in the right place, right? Blah, blah, blah. So I'm going to scroll down. I can keep scrolling. Again, this is just kind of a check. Once you do this a bunch of times, if you know that you filled everything out properly and all the document or all the signature boxes are in the right place, you can usually move through this a little bit quicker, right? On the last page, it's got my signature box, date signed. If I come in here to useful information, again, it's got useful information box in the last page there. And then residential property disclosure, it has that there as well. Now, Emily had asked a question that sometimes there might be something that is a pre-tagged role. This yellow, right? When I click on a signature box, this jumps out over here on the right-hand side, okay? And so let me show you. So if I click back on the document, it kind of shows me this key of all the documents. But if I click on a signature box, it punches this out. Now, when it's dark colored yellow here, means it's required. So the seller has to sign here or they can't complete the signing. On some forms, like on a lead-based paint addendum where the seller is saying, you know, we either do have lead-based paint or we don't, okay? These are not required fields, meaning that they are white. They look like this right here. You can still see it has the yellow background, meaning that this is something that K needs to sign. But in theory, K could finish the signing without completing that box because it's not required. Okay, does that make sense? So you have a couple options when you see that. You can either delete the one that you know is not apply. So if you know that lead-based paint is not an issue, you could delete that signature box, click on the other white one, and you can say, make it required so that K has to sign in the right place. Okay, so make sure that you do this before you send it to your clients. If not, guys, they'll just skip over those white boxes. Okay, so we either delete the white boxes that don't apply, point it out to your client to make sure they make the right selection, or click on the white boxes and make them required. Okay, Emily, anything to add there, since obviously you've been in that situation before?
No, it was just something that I wasn't aware of, and then became aware of it kind of the hard way. And
Yep.
you know, with pre-tagged roles, it's just one of those glitches that if you're not manually dragging over all of your signatures and your initials,
And
that you could miss that on one of these addendums. And if you're not familiar with these documents, then you know you're essentially sending over a contract that doesn't have items selected for your client that they wanted selected, which could be a problem. So,
absolutely. That's why I was saying this is like a fine line between like broker, learn how to fill out the forms and make sure, and then making sure DocuSign that you fill it all out the way that it's supposed to be, so that you exactly don't hurt a client or don't check off a contingency that they're expecting to have. So really, really good point. All right. Take your time when you do this the first few times, right? Do not rush through this because you can miss something. You'll start to learn it. And like anything else, you get quicker at it as you go. All right. Now I could also come in here. I just want to show you this. Let's say I missed like a little something. Let's say I missed an address right here for my firm. You could go all the way back and add it into where we type things in. Or when you're in the envelope section here, you do have a few different tools that you can use over here. So, one of them is going to be a text box that you could use. And instead of going all the way back, I could just drop a text box on here and type in the address, right? So 12700 Fair Lake Circle, right? So I could do it this way. I just wanted to point out some of these different tools to you. And then that way, again, this is not required. So again, you can see it's dark yellow, meaning that someone needs to do something with it. When I click on that text box, I can just say, hey, I just want this to be read only, right? And when it's white like that, it just means everyone can see it, but like we don't need to do anything. The client doesn't need to sign it or check off on it. So there's just a way to kind of add in some text if you forgot something by accident, if you get to this point. Okay.
Kyle, let's say that up above your email was incorrect, right? You realized, oh man, I added an extra L in Bell
Yep.
House or an extra A, and that's wrong.
Yep.
What's the best way to go back and correct that without having to redo your entire document?
Yeah, good question. So one of the things is like, if that is on the listing agreement, anything you've done on the listing agreement is going to get changed if you go backwards. Okay. So you have two options. If this is an agency agreement specifically, like, or, like, again, if I'm sending this over for K for signatures, if I'm not making an offer, the easiest thing to do is you have under this markup tool over here, you have a strike through, a line. Okay. And I could actually come in, strike through the wrong one, add a text box, and put the correct one. Okay. That might be one option that I do, because the other option would be is I could go back and say, hey, we're going to save and close this right here. And I'll do it, right? I'll hit save and close. You'll come back into the envelope section, right? And so it says, okay, this envelope is saved as a draft. And so you can save these. What I would do is I would open up this and I could actually delete out the exclusive right to sell, right? And add it in again once I made that change over in documents. So that's one way to do it. But if you do it that way, you don't need to change and redo, like, K Bell House listing broker, but everything on that listing agreement you would lose if you deleted that and brought a new one in.
Okay, got it. Thanks.
No problem. So let's go back into that envelope. All right. Great tool to use at the very top, just to know that it's there, which is, and again, I want to show this to you. I just kind of went over that pretty quickly. Let's say I'm going to meet Kay at her house this afternoon. I could do all of this. I don't need to send her it yet for signature, but I could come in and I can make sure that everything is correct, that all the signatures in the right spot. Up here under actions, there's a save and close button. So you could use that, save and close. Then when I get to Kay's house and we agree on, whatever it's going to be, let's go ahead and work together. I could just open up DocuSign and send the envelope. I don't need to do all this work while I'm sitting at her kitchen table. So just realize up until this point, you can save it and come back to it. I like to do this the first few times that I work with DocuSign. So I can click preview here and I can actually see what it's going to look like when I send it over to Kay. So it says viewing as K Bell House, right? And I can now look at what this is going to look like to her. So I can come in, right? There's my strike through. I didn't type anything in the text box, right? And I left it as required. So I'd have to type something in here, but that you can see what it looks like to her. Notice it's not showing my broker signature, just hers. And all she has to do to sign it is click on her initial box. Okay. So this is literally the experience that your consumer sees when you tell them, hey, the documents are in your inbox waiting to be signed. Okay. All those fields where you typed in information are locked and they're just coming in here and signing all the different documents. So I think it's smart for you to go through this and make sure everything looks correct. Once it does, you can come out of this little preview section and you would actually go right here and click send. And as soon as you click send, whoever is in that number one space gets the email, right? And can start signing the documents. Okay. So that's the process of getting documents, filling them out, dropping signature boxes, or if you're using pre-tagged roles, using what they give to you, and then sending to your client for signatures. Let's take a pause there. Any questions on that one? Now, guys, I'm going to tell you, you're going to have to go and practice this. Here's what I did. I sent a listing agreement to my mom and my sister, right? And I just went and I created opportunities, created DocuSign rooms, sent the documents out, got signatures from people that weren't really my clients yet. So I was comfortable with the process. Then that way, when I ran into an actual seller, I wasn't practicing on them. So, you know, go find your friend or family member. You could go say, hey, can you help me practice this? And go practice this a few times, figure out your questions you have, and ask your MCTT now. Don't wait until it's Sunday night at 8 o'clock when you're in panic mode because you told someone you're going to send over a listing agreement and you're not sure, or you have a question, right? Not the right time to call your broker and try to have them help you walk through DocuSign at 8 o'clock on Sunday. John, did you have a question there? I saw you came off mute.
Sorry. No, I didn't have a question. I was gonna say that it's cool that I didn't know there was a lot of things that you can do on DocuSign.
Cool. And I haven't
Yeah.
even shown you the cool ones yet. So stick
Oh,
with me here
yeah.
for the next 15 minutes. All right.
Cool. Yeah.
All right. So I'm not going to send this, guys, because if I did send it, then I would, and actually, let me do this. Let me send it to myself. So here's what we're going to do. I'm not going to send it to Kay's email. Kay, if anyone knows Kay Bellhouse, now lives over in England. And so if I sent that to her right now, she would probably be enjoying her afternoon tea. Let me change the email address there so it can come to me. And I'm going to delete this one because I don't need the broker signature. Let's go to next. Let's go to send. And that way I can show you what it looks like when you get completed documents back. All right, perfect. So I just got a message on my phone, right? Because I have DocuSign downloaded. You guys can download the DocuSign app and actually sign things. You can't really write the documents here just yet. But you know, let's just say I just got an email as well, which I did to go ahead and sign the documents. And I'll say, yep, let's go ahead and use that one. I'm going to sign the documents. I'm signing them right now on my side, just like your seller would be. And we'll say next, 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 sign, sign, and next, finish. Okay. All right. So now I've signed the documents. And this is when your seller texts you and says, hey, just want to let you know we signed them. You're going to say, great, thanks so much. It's going to take a few seconds here. It's usually about a minute or so. What's going to happen is back in our documents section, as I reload this, we're going to get 3 new copies of these documents that are going to say signed. Okay. So we're going to give it just a second here, but we're going to get a deport disclosure, a useful information, an exclusive right to sell that are going to have a green check mark on them that are going to say signed. And now you know that those are the ones that have been completed and the ones that you're going to use to turn in for compliance, or if you're writing a contract, you're turning into the other broker. All right. So while we wait on that to come through, because it takes about a minute for DocuSign to catch up on that, I want to show you a couple things. Imagine you upload a PDF into, has anyone ever like had a PDF of like 40 pages and you want to cut out like 2 pages, right? So in DocuSign, I just want to show this to you. If you can do it on a form, but you can also do it on a PDF that you bring in. So let's say add from my computer. Let's say it's an offer or something, or in this case, let's do, let's see. All right, here's the contract that I have. Let's say we brought in a PDF. That's what it looks like, right? You get the little PDF logo. I can right click on a PDF in DocuSign and they've got this amazing split tool, right? So it opens up, it'll bring up all the pages that are in that PDF in a nice little thumbnail, okay? And I can split this thing up into multiple documents. So if you had something and you said, I want to pull out just the deport disclosure, you can name the document and say, hey, the deport disclosure is pages 1 through 5, right? And then I want to do the ratified contract, right, is going to be pages 5 through 20, okay? You can see that it actually highlights all the pages, right? And you can actually cut this thing up and get multiple versions of a PDF. So I just really like that split tool because I'm always trying to figure out how can I just pull out 2 pages of a document. Using the split tool in DocuSign is a way that you can do that. Okay, so just a nice little tool there that a lot of people miss. And again, you get there by doing the right click on a document and then clicking split. Okay. All right, there we go. This is what I was looking for here. So now notice I've got 3 signed documents with a green check mark. So once your client signs the documents, that's what it should look like when the signing is complete. All right. If your seller 1 has signed and your seller 2, and you put your broker on there and your broker hasn't signed, you won't see these until your broker has completed the signing. Okay. So this is what we see when everyone is done signing the document. Now, a few organizational things here. Is anyone on this call like a control freak or like to be really organized? Just me? Okay. All right. So I have these 3 signed copies. I'm going to delete this PDF I brought in just to show you. You have a couple options here to kind of clean this up a little bit. One is these blue forms. Once you have them signed, you may not need them again, right? So you could delete the forms potentially, and you could do that by clicking on the boxes and 1, 2, 3. And up top here, you have a delete button where you could actually delete those 3 forms out. Here's a better option, in my opinion. You also have an option to archive them, okay? So if you ever needed to go back to the listing agreement and make a change to it, let's say the listing term gets extended, like if you delete it, you got to start from scratch. If you simply archive it, right, you can archive those documents, right? They say archive, then you can change your view up here to say, hey, just show me active documents. And then it kind of puts those other ones into the background. And if you ever need to go back and then grab your listing agreement, you could always say, hey, show me all documents are archived. And they would be right there and you could unarchive them, right? And you still have all of the work that you put into them saved. Okay. So I like to archive documents versus delete them and then change my view so that it's nice and clean. Does that make sense? Okay. The other option that you could do is up here under actions. Notice that everyone starts with a room docs folder. You also can create folders. So I might add a folder and I might call it completed listing docs. Okay, and hit create. And notice that I get another folder up there. And what I can actually do is I can drag my documents and put them into that folder and just keep everything very organized, right? It's just up to you in the way that you kind of like to keep things. I'm going to show you in just a second how we then bring these completed forms over into command for compliance, right? And then those in Hampton Roads, like we're getting ready to get back into what applies to you, right? All right, so any questions on sending documents, right? And then getting them back as complete. Any questions on that? Everybody good on DocuSign? Now we're gonna go back over into command. You're gonna play with it a little bit, okay? Bowling, go ahead.
Got one quick question, and I apologize if you went over it earlier. When you set up different folders in your DocuSign room, and you go, or this is what I've experienced in the past, and then I go to add a new form, either from my computer or DocuSign, it will always load into, I believe, the first folder that was there. So I guess room docs.
Yep, correct.
Is there any way to direct it to go into the folder that you want it to go to, or do I always have to go back after and do the manual move?
Yeah, so it's a really good question. We brought this up and I think this might change at some point, but right now the way it sits is this is your root folder. Like this is where everything is going to go to, is your room docs folder. So what I would tell you is change your workflow a little bit to just make sure that this is like your depository one, right? So like you said, everything new that comes in here comes into room docs and then I move it into wherever I need it to be. Here's something you can do though, and I can show you, you can actually do this in bulk. Let's say I've got a bunch of documents here and I want to move them into a folder. I can do them one by one, like drag and drop. I can also come over here and do a select all, right? And notice there's a select all button, which makes it easy. Move is one of your tools up here. And I can say, hey, move it into a folder, and I can then choose my folder, right? So a couple ways to do it. You can do it in bulk or one by one. And I think eventually you will be able to specify where documents come into the room.
Okay, awesome. Thanks again.
Cool. Last thing I want to show you on DocuSign is up top here, you have a button that says inbox. Everybody see that? If you use inbox, when you click on inbox, everyone has an email address. Here it is right here. So mine is kyleholleran@maildocusign.net. All right. So I'm going to copy that email address, right? I'm going to go copy. Okay. Let's say someone sends you a document and it's an attachment in an email. Okay. You can forward that email to this address and those documents will come right into your inbox. So instead of you downloading to your computer, uploading back into DocuSign, you could use this email address and it would be here, and then you can move it into whatever room that you wanted to use, which is kind of cool. And then let's save you an
Wow,
additional,
that's amazing.
and let's save you an additional step, okay? We've got that email address, and in each room has a unique identifier, like a number, okay? So let's go back to the one we were just working in. That's the one here for K. Notice here that there is an ID number, 6938773. So if I get an email from somebody with an attachment and I forward it to my DocuSign email address that we just copied, and in the subject line, I put this ID number in the subject line and hit send, it'll come directly into this room. Cool. Okay. So guys, I meet with agents all the time who download like every document. Realize how much space that's taken up on your computer. And if you just get used to like save that DocuSign email, grab that user ID number, it comes right into your room. And as Bowling just asked, it'll show up in your room docs folder without you doing any sort of manual upload at all. Okay. So another little trick or tip that people aren't using. All right, so now we have signed documents. Now I'm going to go back over into Command. Okay. Notice a few things here. It now says go to transaction. I've not been watching. I'm so sorry. I've not been watching the chat. Great. Smart. Very good. Makes it so easy. Great. Glad you guys are having a good experience. So we're back in Command. Remember, this room and Command opportunity are now talking to one another. That's why we want to start the room from the opportunity, because watch how easy this is going to be. The button now says go to transaction. Right, because this is now not the first time we've done it. It's the next 100 times we come back here. Now notice right here it's saying, where do you want to attach your files from? Is it from your computer? So are you uploading them? You have that option. Or are they from DocuSign, right? And then from DocuSign, which folder are they in? Are they in your room docs folder or your completed listing docs folder? So if I left them all there, I could click on room docs, but remember I created a new one. So if I click on completed listing docs, check this out, listing agreement, there it is right there, exclusive right to sell signed. All you have to do is click that button, and now that form just came over from DocuSign and is connected. My residential property disclosure is right there, and see it eliminates ones you've already selected to make it even easier for you. Deport disclosure is right there, and useful information is right there. Now, where do you guys typically get your tax record or your MLS listing from, right? From the MLS. So in that case, let's just go do it together. I use the Bright MLS up here in Northern Virginia. I'll go to Bright. I will log in. You all have this on your MLS. It might be a little bit different, obviously, depending on whether you're in Rain or see your MLS or anywhere else. So I'm going to log in. Okay, once I'm here, I'm going to go to search up top here in the upper left-hand corner. I'm going to come over here to public records. Okay, public records. And I'm going to search for that listing. So I'm going to say 404, right, Dale. And I can come up with the search, and here's 3 properties that meet that. And the one that we did was actually my house right here. So I'll say 404 Dale Road. There's the tax record. Okay. So from my MLS, I can like download this tax record, right? So I can save it, or I'll do, let's say print. And I'm going to print it to a PDF. Okay. And that way I save the tax record basically to my computer, right? So there's our tax record. We want it to be in portrait mode. Perfect. And I'm going to hit save there. Perfect. Yes. Okay. Going back to Command. Now I've uploaded my documents that were in DocuSign, right? My contract documents. Now my tax record is not coming from DocuSign. So I'm going to switch this and say from my computer. And now let's grab the file, the tax record I just downloaded. There it is right there. Attach, and boom, right? So I used both. I used DocuSign to bring in some documents, and I brought some in from my computer, but now they're all complete. And notice now that I have done that, now I have a button up here that says submit to Market Center. And I can say, yep, I now need to turn this into my office, and we're going to submit this compliance to the office, and now you can see it says submitted. Check. Now we're good to go. We're done with compliance until we get a response back from the broker that everything is either approved or that you need to change something. And then we'll redo this process again once we list the home and we get a purchase contract. All right. So let's stop here for a second. Any questions about uploading files into your compliance checklist?
Nope.
Okay. Now here's the advantage I have is I'm the broker. So I'm going to jump over. You guys don't have Command MC, but I'm going to show you what it looks like when you get that approval. So your broker has a system inside of Command that leadership has called Command MC. And this is where they come into, and they're going to open up opportunities, and they're going to have compliance requests over on their side. And so I'll go ahead and click on compliance request. And I'm going to change the market center to say compliance request from Fairfax. Let's see here. Let it load. So let's say Fairfax compliance request. They're going to see 404 Dale Road. Your broker is going to be able to review, and they're going to open up what you have submitted to them. They're going to say review documents, all documents, and they can see, right, the signed copies. Now they're coming in here to make sure that we've got all of our signatures, right, and that you've got all your signatures on here. And they can say approve, right, and they're going to come through and they're going to approve all your different documents, hopefully. They also have the ability to reject a document, okay? And if they reject a document, they would tell you why it has been rejected. All right. And so this is what it looks like. So approved, 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 right? That means everything is good to go. And now the broker can change that file to approved, right? If there was anything wrong, if there was something wrong they needed you to fix, it would be sent back as returned. And you would get a notification and you'd be able to see the note about why it was returned. You would fix that, re-upload it, and resubmit it. Okay. Let's say everything is correct, though. They would say approved, and that's what it looks like. Now, again, next to the listing folder, it says approved. Okay. Let's go back over into the agent view. So that's what you guys are going to see. Where do you get notified that that was approved? Couple different ways. Number one is this little bell icon in the upper right-hand corner. If you click on this little bell, that red dot means you have a notification. If I click on that, it says your compliance event for K Bell House listing has been approved. So great. Okay. There's also a KW Command app that you guys all should download, right? Which is this product Command on your computer on your phone. And you can actually turn on notifications. And so if the broker approves something, you get a pop-up notification that says approved. Okay. So then we're going to say, okay, great, let's do, and actually I want to show this to you on the notification. You can just click on the notification. It'll take you right back into the opportunity. So if something was wrong, you don't have to go back and start navigating from opportunities. Just click on the notification, takes you back in, and then this is what it looks like for you. It says approved, right? And that means you're good to go. Here's the deal, guys. In order to get paid, you need both these folders to say approved, approved. If they say anything other than that, you've got to get it fixed before the check gets there, so there's no delay in you getting paid. All right. That's why you want to upload these documents and just get the approval so that you don't have to worry about it in 2 weeks when the check comes in, that your broker's calling you and saying, hey, we can't release this check because we don't have your agency documents yet, right? Just get it done and move on to the next thing and keep building your business. All right, everybody good? So we're going to fast forward a little bit. Let's say we list the property, we get a contract, we get our documents, and we all ratify. We can use DocuSign to drop in signature boxes and those types of things. We upload everything into, under contract. We upload our documents there. And let's say then we get approved. That means your compliance is good to go. So let's kind of wrap up compliance here. Any questions on compliance? Everybody okay? Okay. Buyer agency, obviously this doesn't say listed, it says buyer consultation or something along those lines. So just remember, like these folders will change based on listing, buyer, tenant, landlord, and the compliance checklist will change based on your office. Okay, great. So now we've listed the home. We've turned in our documents. We've gotten approval. We've gotten a contract. We've turned in those documents. We've gotten approval. What's one of the last things we need to do in terms of the process so that when the check gets there, we get paid on time? Who knows?
Commission.
Commissions, okay? We need to tell our office how we're supposed to be paid out. Is there a referral? Is another agent in the office supposed to get part of this commission because they've helped me, etc. Okay. So all we're going to do is we're going to toggle to the next tab. We're going to go to offers and commissions. Okay. When I click on offers and commissions, what we're going to do is we're going to add in the offer that we ratified. Now I'm going to show you a cool little tool here, but for the purpose of this, let's say we're going to add in the offer that we ratified. So we can call it initial offer, create offer. Right, and let's see, the little screen's going to pop up. Add offer. Offer 2. There we go. Okay. So this is what it looks like when you click on add an offer, right? There's these 4 steps: offer details, parties, terms, and agent analysis. So here's what we're doing in this step. Basically, we're just telling them the sales price, the earnest money deposit, etc. And then once we accept the offer, when we go to do the commissions tab, it already pre-fills out all the information. Because remember, when we started, we put in the commission rate. Now we're putting in the price. So what happens is we're doing a little bit of work so that when we get to the next step, all you have to do is just basically approve all the numbers, right? So offer 2, the offer date, let's say we put in an offer on the 4th. The close date is going to be the last day of May, so May 31st. I click to the next little button here, parties. What's the name of the buyer? So, if you know the information, you could type in here, Kyle, Frederick, associate's name. This would be the agent on the other side. You can type that in. Those are required fields, and the only 2 required fields. So you can type that information in if you have it. Go to terms. This one's the important one, I think. Let's say someone's putting down $50,000 deposit and they've made us an offer of $800,000 total, so that they're getting a $750,000 loan, meaning our sales price everyone agreed to was $800,000. Okay. The earnest money deposit was 5% or 40 grand. This works both ways. So if someone's putting down a flat money earnest deposit, let's say they put down 32 grand, you can type in 32 and it'll find the percentage for you. So that works in both ways. Okay. Are there any seller closing costs, or are they given any sort of selling credit? Usually I just fill out these top 2 sections on price and earnest money deposit, agent analysis, and click save. All right. So for a lot of agents, this is what they do. And they could click accept here and go fill out their commission request. I'm going to show you a cool little tool here, which is if you're looking for a way, if you have a listing and you have multiple offers, you could actually add in multiple offers here and add in some of this information. So say this deal, the second offer we got closes on June 6th. And that one was between so-and-so and so-and-so. And that office, they offered us $500,000 cash, and they're going to finance 300 grand, right? And they put down a 1% earnest money deposit, agent analysis, save. There's actually this really cool tool that a lot of people don't even know is here, which is you can add in multiple offers, click on select all. And when you do that, this little button appears that says compare offers. And you can actually create like a seller's net sheet. Check that out, right? So the more information you put in, the more complete that seller net sheet would be. But this is actually something you could download and take to your client's house when you review offers, and it'll kind of break it down for you and show you the difference between the different offers. So just a kind of a cool little tool that a lot of people miss because they usually don't add an offer until they have a ratified deal. But you could use that tool to compare offers. Then let's say the client says, you know what, I don't want to accept this offer. Once you click on accept, that's when the little button appears that says, okay, now you need to go in and manage your commission. All right. So create offers, whatever offer you decide to select, you're going to click on accept that offer. now manage our commission. And this is the final step, guys. So we've said the sales price was 800 grand. We originally said our commission rate when we created the opportunity was 2.5%, meaning the total commission is 20 grand, right? And then here's your agent breakdown. So, you know, in my case, because I'm a broker, you know, I would owe my royalty. You know, you would see your split here. So it'd show you, okay, you know, I'm capped basically. So I'm not paying anything to KW, but I am paying my $1,200 or my royalty still to KW. So that $20,000 commission, my piece of it would be $18,800. I would know that. Okay. So all we're doing is confirming. Now, note, I've got a little error button right here. It says contract date. And if I tried to submit, I would get an error, right? And it would say, hey, you're missing your contract date. So I'm actually going to go in and say edit. And let's put in that contract date. So we ratified on today, let's say the 6th, hit save changes. And now I would be able to submit that commission. All right, before I do, what if the commission rate changed? Okay, notice that you can come in here and you can change this. Hey, so the commission went to 3%, right? And it would actually recalculate your commission, right? So save changes. And now it's going to say, hey, wait a second, we've got to, you know, did that change the amount at all? Right. So now we have a balance that might not be correct. So it did change that there. Let's go back to 2.5. Right now it's back to $20,000. So you can make some edits here. Let's say you have an agent in your office, right, that you're working with. You could actually say, hey, let's add another agent to this commission request. And you could actually type in agents in your office. So let's say Tim Harenko helped me on this deal. We could split this commission, right? And so you can add somebody else in here if you guys have done it that way. That's how you add an agent. And then sometimes you get a referral, right? So you might want to come in here and say, hey, you know what? This is the breakdown of the commission, and I want to make sure I add in there, make sure the MCA knows that there is a outside referral, and you could type in the amount. So I owe an agent in California 25% of this deal. You're going to put in their information for their W-9, etc. Click add. And then that way, when the check comes in and the MCA goes to process it, they know to take that money out. They know who it goes to and mail it. And your referral partner gets their check right away. And they're not calling you going, hey, where's my money? All right. So whatever you need to do with the commission, this is the step in which you do it. And once you've completed your commission request, and for a lot of agents, if it's just your deal and you're a solo agent, it's that simple. You don't really have to do much. You click submit. Then the MCA gets the request. They import it into our system. Check gets in. And then what the MCA is doing is once they have the commission request in and the check gets into the office, they do a quick look over in documents. And again, if that says approved, then they go ahead and they can pay you your check. Okay. So that's what you want to do. You want to click submit and your commission request has been entered in. Questions on commissions? Any questions? Be careful submitting these. I see some people that want to go in and like test this. If you submit this, your MCA gets like an import into their system. So I would suggest not submitting this, right? And just communicating with your MCA, maybe the first time that you submit a commission request to make sure it's correct. There is a way that once you submit it, if something changes, let's say at the last minute you do a walkthrough and someone gets a credit or whatever. If something's changed in terms of sales price or commission amount, there's a button here that says request change. And you can change that, you know, once it's been accepted by your MCA. All right, guys, we did a lot today. You know, I'm not going to take up the full 2 hours unless we have some questions. So think about what we've done, right? Compliance, we've gone through the process of creating the opportunity, going over to DocuSign. We talked about how to get your stuff signed there. We talked about creating templates in DocuSign, getting signatures, creating folders. We talked about that email address from DocuSign you can forward things to. We uploaded things into Command for compliance. We got approval. We went in, we put in our offer, we accepted the offer, we completed our commission request. That's the process, okay? So not just in commissions, but, you know, give me a couple things that you either learned today, what were some ahas, and we'll wrap up the class. Or if there's any questions about any of that process we just did, I'm happy to answer those too.
Kyle, is this meeting going to be recorded for review?
It is recorded, and as soon as it is downloaded, it'll go on the regional YouTube channel, and you guys can certainly go back and watch it and pause and kind of work through it with me.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
1.5 for me, I would say, was the when you can split the documents in DocuSign, because I would have to download and then do it manually, and then save separate PDFs on a computer.
Yep, it's a great tool, and when you use that split tool, John, it'll save the original document, the full of the document. It saves that one, and then gives you all the chopped up pieces as well. So you don't lose that original document. It still keeps that and then gives you the chopped up versions in addition to.
That's perfect. Awesome.
Good. Barbara.
Yeah, I really like the trick you showed about that you could send something directly to a specific folder.
Cool. Yeah, that's really helpful. So again, in your email, like in Gmail, save that DocuSign email as a contact, like call it Kyle DocuSign and save it as a contact. And that way, offer comes in, all you do is just grab that ID of that room and just forward it along, right? Or even if you're not in a place to go into DocuSign, just forward it to your email. Again, it'll be in the inbox here in DocuSign, and then you can just move it into the proper room. Yep, great. What else? Any other ahas from today's class? Okay. Any final thoughts? All right, guys, we're gonna let you go a half an hour early. I implore you, right? You spent an hour and a half here today. Go into action. Go do something of what we went over today.
Recording, sorry.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
It's recorded, right? Can you send us a recording?
It'll be on the regional YouTube channel, the technology YouTube channel, whenever they get it downloaded. So David and his assistant they have the recording in the cloud and they'll upload it to YouTube probably today or Monday at the latest.
Thank you.
Sure.
Thanks so much. This was super helpful.
Good.
Yeah. Thank you.
All right, guys. Good. I hope you have a great Friday. I'm going to put it into the chat real quick, just my email address in case anyone has any follow-up questions. They just want to send me a quick email. I'm happy to answer it for you. Or we've got a great network of Market Center tech trainers in the region. So it's there if you need it. And I hope everyone has a great Friday and a great weekend. And I will talk to you soon. Okay.
Awesome. Have a nice day, bro.
Thank you so much.
See ya.
Have a great weekend.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.